What's going on, all of you beautiful, fantastic, phenomenal freelancers? My name is William, the host of your Anthem, and man does it feel good just to be able to talk again. As most of you know, this past week I had my wisdom teeth removed, and fun fact, today is the first day that I've actually been able to articulate and talk, let alone open up my jaw, so I figured what better way to celebrate than to go over everything that I missed with Anthem this past week, plus diving into a topic that you all have been really curious about, and that being skill trees. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to give a very special thank you to today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. While I was bedridden this past week recovering, Raid was an absolute lifesaver. With gorgeous graphics, over 500 champions to collect and upgrade, a captivating story, and a plethora of content, there's a reason why this is the only mobile game I have on my phone. Remember those champions I mentioned before? You can collect and unlock all of them by opening surprisingly attainable shards like these here. My two personal favorites that I recently unlocked were the Reliquary Tender and the ever-fancy Mr. Phoenix. The character models are terrific, but what's more, even a bad champion is still useful as you can smelt them down to upgrade a better one. Also, if you're like me and like to seek out a challenge, dungeons are a terrific way to test your mettle against waves upon waves of enemies, leading up to oftentimes a really tough boss fight. Plus, everything you loot from dungeons all goes towards making your champions even stronger. Raid has also just released a huge champion update this month, tweaking and rebalancing over 20 different champions to make PvP arena battles even more competitive. And if that's not enough, the Forge just came out, so now you can save time and start crafting top quality artifacts and competing right away. If you enjoy my channel and want to support me, use the links in the description below, and if you're a new player, you can get an exclusive welcome pack that contains 50,000 silver, 50 gems, 5 mystery shards, 1 energy refill, a daily XP boost, 1 clan boss key, and one of my personal favorite champions these last few months, the Shaman. You will find your extra rewards here in your inbox for the next 30 days only. Thank you again to Raid for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado, let's get into it. To kick things off, we finally know what the next blog post is going to be about, and that is the long-awaited skill trees and javelin progression. Now, this information, as always, comes from Dailey over on Twitter, Anthem's fantastic game director, who posts this vertical slice of a screenshot of the new skill tree tab. As many of you will recall from the previous video and mentioned throughout all of last month, in the screenshot where we saw the in-development UI, there was the skill tree and mastery tabs, which we haven't covered too much yet. Now, I know some of you are going to say, okay, it's just a picture of the skill tree tab, but I'm seeing a little something more here in this vertical slice, and it answers a question that a lot of you have been wondering that we're going to get into in just a second here. More of that in the second part of this video. So let's quickly finish off what I've missed. Christian posted over on Twitter as well that they are looking into the featured store. He says, quote, "Hey, we're looking into it. We do want to mix it up, but it's not straightforward, unfortunately." This comes after the information courtesy of the Freelancer Codex guys, and we covered it in a previous video, where the featured store seems to be in a continuous loop, and over half the cosmetics in Anthem are no longer present or available to be collected. This next tweet comes from Spartan901, who tweets, at Christian Dailey, "Since you blessed us with our weekly Anthem tease early, I wondered if perhaps today you might pick one question below to answer. Is the team still working with Frostbite? Will we have more chances to see our freelancers' face and new social spaces?" Christian replied, "Yes, no, maybe. This is not necessarily in the same order you asked the questions." So let's go on ahead and alleviate the first one. They are not working in a different engine. Or Anthem is not being moved to a different engine. I actually answered this on Twitter earlier. There are a lot of complications with changing over to a different engine, especially if you're going from something as, well, very specific as Frostbite. It's not as easy as Control-C, Control-V. It's not as easy as copy and paste. They would basically have to build the game from the ground up all over again, and let's be realistic, they don't have the time to do that. Plus, most EA titles, or EA really encourages, that its developers develop on Frostbite. It's what the next Dragon Age game is being developed on. It's what all BioWare titles minus SWTOR are going to be developed on, that being, Anthem, Dragon Age, and potentially the future Mass Effect title. That's just the way it's going to be. Obviously, there are the exceptions like Apex using the modified Source engine, but no, I can almost say with an absolute certainty, Anthem won't be running on a new engine. And as for the no and the maybe, it can go either or for the freelancer's face or the social spaces. Honestly, I doubt we're going to be seeing more of our freelancers' faces, especially with all social hubs we're in first person whenever we're out of our javelins, and I don't foresee them taking the development time, allowing us to see our freelancers' faces more often. More than likely, they'll be going down the route of really making your javelin your personalized character, because I'm sure it's easier to rig in the occasional cinematic for javelins with their helmets always on, rather than a bunch of faces. Plus, if we're being realistic, Anthem's character creation system isn't the best thing in the whole world. I still don't even remember what my face looks like. And in terms of new social spaces, I would absolutely love for Fort Tarsis to feel more lived in. So maybe not new social spaces, but updating existing social spaces, I don't know. Moving on, we actually got something wrong in a previous video. Okay, in all fairness, we got two things wrong in a previous video. The javelin who smiles, the javelin who laughs, is actually a ranger concept and not a storm. Based on that small screenshot that we had before with the collar, I thought it was a storm, but nope, evidently this is a ranger. Go figure. I can't say that I hate the concept, it's just there's nothing outstanding or remarkable about it. At least in the first art pass. Now when you get to the other one where, they've modified the collar and the torso looks like it has a bit more personality to it, then I could get more into it, but honestly, it would be an armor set that I would pass on. And the last two tweets to catch up on are that yes, the blog will be coming in September within the next 30 days. There will be a little bit of a heads up as we get closer to it, courtesy of Christian. And lastly, Christian alleviates concerns about Anthem going first person. Honestly, the third person view of Anthem is terrific. You get to see your javelin. No complaints whatsoever about this decision. Now then, on to the real meat and potatoes of this video and what I've been so excited to talk to you all about. The other day, someone left a comment on the previous video saying, hey, I really don't see where my gear attachments are in this UI. And I looked it over and I could see the weapons, I could see the armor, I could see the mods, but there's no sign of your abilities whatsoever. And for a gear page, typically you have all your gear on it. That is, unless, and of course this is me speculating here, that the gear attachments are no longer going to be tied to lootable things. This leads me to speculate, but given that it isn't on the gear tab where you are supposed to have, all your gear or lootable gear, that abilities are no longer going to be in the loot pool and instead are going to be tied to skill trees. Now, I've been saying since at least the Cataclysm that one of Anthem's greatest flaws was having abilities be rendered absolutely useless because of the inscriptions you got. You could in theory spend 100 hours in Anthem as a storm and never once get the steam vent in a loot drop. Not only does that rob you of an ability, but even if you were to get it, for an example, and its inscriptions were absolutely dreadful, you would have to suck it up and maybe use Winter's Wrath or Frost Shards or something. When in all reality, you just want to be able to use the damn steam vent. This also hindered builds and why I've not done a build video on this channel to date. Because as I mentioned in a previous video, I could tell you to have steam vent on, or any number of other attachments and abilities and components and whatever, but ultimately if your inscriptions weren't good, you wouldn't get the same result. For instance, if I had a steam vent with 3 charges on it and you only had 1, well, it could throw off the entire build. And there's no way in Anthem right now to currently just focus grinding on that one thing. Sure, you can use the crystal store and narrow down the loot pool to 1 javelin, but even then you're competing with so many other things. Anyways, personally, I would be a huge fan of being able to have all of your abilities be tied to an actual skill tree, spending skill points on them in order to unlock them and use them. Now, they could go down the classic skill tree route like they do in games such as SWTOR and other MMOs, where you can unlock abilities as you progress on, but only from that specific skill tree. But how would we augment our abilities? Well, if you look back over to the UI in progress, you'll recall the armor sets and mods. Now, I theorize it could be either one of 2 ways, and of course, I could be totally wrong. We won't know until we get the skill tree blog coming this month. But one route could be that armor sets, as I mentioned in a previous video, could have set bonuses that allow for things such as gear recharge rate, or you get an additional charge on your left bumper ability, things like that. My other idea is that armor more or less acts as a stat stick, or solely benefits things that are built into your javelin, such as your shields, your shield recharge rate, your health, your max health cap, hover duration, etc., etc. While mods, on the other hand, could impact your skill tree-based abilities. Now, that being said, there really isn't any foundation for it, because based on this UI look, it appears that mods could be impacting weapons only, or armor and weapons together, kinda like components. Maybe there'll be specialized ones that are like, oh hey, this one impacts auto rifles, equip it. Oh hey, you want even more shields? Here you go, equip this mod. In all honesty, it would seem kind of funny to me for you to spend points on like a skill tree based system where you get your abilities, or at least the bulk of your abilities from there, and then have to tab over to a completely separate page in order to upgrade them or modify them. But again, what we're looking at is a game in development, and given that BioWare has looked at other games that are best in class in this area, such as Destiny, Warframe, The Division, you have to do a little creative comparing and contrasting. This just makes the most sense to me, and honestly, I'm pretty excited about skill trees in general. I've always appreciated, how you can build your Javelin to be whatever way you want. Oh, your Colossus could be a tank, or it could just be an artillery gunner. Awesome, but that's really dependent upon the gear attachments, isn't it? And really dependent upon the components, right? If we had specified skill trees that we could build in, and really expand our Javelins, I think it would bring Anthem to a whole new level. I would love nothing more than to make build videos, or for there to actually be metas in the game, or just simply go into deep dives about each skill tree and why you should pick this or why you should pick this depending on the scenario. To me that just sounds awesome. But really and truly, I want to see your thoughts in the comments section below. Even if you all don't ever comment on these videos, I really want to see some discussion going on. And as always, if I have time and I like your topic, I will absolutely be sure to respond. And if you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date on all things about your game, Anthem, especially as Anthem 2.0 keeps on ramping up in development, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it really does help me out and allows me to reach more freelancers just like you. I hope all of you fantastic freelancers have an absolutely phenomenal day, and I'm looking forward to seeing each and every last one of you in the next video very soon. And remember, freelancers, as always, we are strong alone, but we are so much stronger together.